What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. Sorry about that. My name's Nicole and I'm an addict, and my sobriety date is July 13th of 2015. And I do utilize medically assisted treatment. I'm currently on 2 milligrams of Suboxone, and I have tapered down from 12 milligrams to 2. So that's what's going on with my maintenance medication. I always try to say that at the beginning of my videos because I know a lot of you guys come here for support because you're on maintenance too. So if that is something that you're going through too, stick around and hang out with us. Excuse me. Hey, Deidre. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Brad. So here's the thing, you guys. Um, I have been getting a lot of requests from some of the girls in my Patreon. It's specifically you, Nicole, to talk about dealing with like feelings and emotions that are like really overwhelming whenever you get sober. And how did I deal with those emotions? What do I do now to deal with emotions that are, kind of overwhelming? And I thought we could talk about that live because I'm stuck at home right now. If y'all didn't know, I woke up this morning and guess what? I woke up this morning and I had a screw in my tire. So now I have to sit here and wait for my husband to come home and help me change the tire because I really don't know how to do it on my own. So I was driving down the road with Nate in the back seat. Hey, Captain Crunch. And these are so foggy. Can y'all see me good, or is that window like creating a glare? Let me know and I'll like shut the window. I'm sitting upstairs in my son's room because one, I cleaned it and it looks so good, and two, I have that window right there, so it's like natural light and you can see me good and it's not so dark. So I thought that would be cool. So I guess I'll have to leave my glasses off because they have that glare on them. Let me get, one of my awesome subscribers sent me this book, you guys, and it's called Let That Shit Go, a journal for leaving your bullshit behind and creating a happy life. Okay. So I thought we could also kind of read some of this stuff in here because it's really cool. So let me talk to you guys about emotions and feelings and overwhelming emotions and feelings. So let's take it back to let's take it all the way back to 2015 in July when my son got taken from me. Okay. So it was July 2nd when CPS came into my home and removed my son from my care. The reason they came over was because a friend of mine had called Child Protective Services on me and, reported me for being on drugs. And so I went and I took a drug test up there at the Child Protective Services building, but and I failed for methamphetamine and benzodiazepines. And so, of course, they came to my house to make sure that um, I had a house that was fit, right? At that time, I was in my active addiction. I was strung out on the needle. Hey, Lakeisha. I know, girl. I know. I'm I'm a little bit afraid, just so y'all know. Like, I'm really kind of getting nervous about it. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Hey, Julia, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. Hey, Deidre, what's up, girl? Love you, miss you. I'll call you today. We always, like I always tell you, I'll call you today. I'll call you today. Hey, LVN, what's up? I'm doing good. So, okay, this is what I want to talk to you guys about today. So, I know we're all nervous about the coronavirus. Like, honestly, you guys, I'm scared too. My husband works for a big chain grocery store here in Arkansas, and they are working really hard to make sure that they're getting stuff out on the shelves so that way people that need canned goods and dried food and all that stuff that they need can get it. I will tell you this, for those of you guys that shop at Walmart, Walmart receives a lot of their stuff from China, so you might want to change and go to Kroger instead. So, because there's not going to be anything at Walmart. So, but listen, here's the thing. This is what I was telling you guys about yesterday or the other day when we were talking about this. Do not panic, okay? Don't panic. Just go and get what you can and it'll be everything's going to be okay. The more everybody panics and goes out and like buys all these things, right? Then the worse it's going to be. Let's all try to stay calm and plan ahead. So if you can get a month's worth of groceries or 2 months worth of groceries ahead of time, I would suggest that. If you're somebody who's on maintenance medication, I have an update from somebody who lives in Chicago and is also on methadone. So let me tell you guys about that. Uh, Chicago Dave called me today because he was going out to his clinic, methadone clinic, to get the protocol of what they're doing for people that may be sick and coming into the clinic. So I'm going to tell y'all. He said that they have a sign on the clinic door that says, if you're sick, if you're coughing, if you have a fever, anything like that, right? Do not come into your clinic. Do not even walk into the door. This is what they're doing in Chicago, okay? They don't want you coming in if you're sick, all right? If you're sick, all you have to do is call the clinic's office, the number, and the nurse will come out to you in your vehicle. Okay, that's in Chicago. Thanks, Jolene. You noticed, girl? I fixed it for y'all. If you guys haven't noticed lately, I've been like really into wearing no makeup and just letting my skin breathe. But when I do wear makeup, I want like my skin to be glowy. I want it to be fresh. And so that's what I've been trying to do is like keep my skin glowy and fresh. Thank you for being so transparent and honest about your experiences. Oh, thanks, Julie. Julia, I really appreciate it. I try to be as honest as I can. Sometimes we're going to talk about feelings, so don't y'all worry. We're only 7 minutes in. Sometimes I'm so honest and people judge me for that. So, for those of you guys that maybe haven't watched the video, I had to re upload my diary video, the one where I read my diary from when I was in active addiction. In fact, let me grab it. There it is. Let me grab it. And look at these. Aren't these cute? I got them for free from Victoria's Secret. they had a buy something get these free. I also got 3 new bras, you guys. Okay. So, I made a video, you guys, about reading my diary, okay? And I was really nervous to read it because one, I knew I was saying some crazy stuff back then. I knew that our life was a hellhole. When me and Neil were in our active addiction, you guys, it wasn't pretty. You know, we were fighting all the time. I constantly thought that he was cheating on me. I constantly thought that other people were in our home when they weren't in our home. I was hallucinating, like a lot of really crazy stuff. Okay. And the reason why I was hallucinating is because I would stay up so many days on methamphetamine. Okay. I would stay up for over 5 or 6 days in a row. There's some days where I stayed up for over a week with absolutely no sleep. And then I would shoot up stimulants, methamphetamine. Okay. And so what that would do is when I would get to that point where I was so sleepy that I was basically falling asleep standing up, I would shoot some more meth. Okay. So it was just sending me over this edge. And so I was constantly in a state of psychotic episodes. Okay. Um, so yesterday I read about the abuse and physical violence that me and my husband would do to each other. Okay. When me and my husband got married last year, okay, we were not married whenever we were in our active addiction. We met in 2012, and we met and we fell in love. Okay. We were both very, very much so addicted to opiates and methamphetamines. We were both IV addicts. When I met him, I did not know that he was an addict. I thought, wow, here's this guy. He's got his shit together, right? Because he had a job, he had a car, he was smart, he had been to college, he has his master's degree, and he was clean cut, straight up looking like a little preppy white boy. Okay. So when I met him, I was like, this is exactly what I need. He's gonna save me. He's gonna save me from myself. And that's really what I thought. After about 2 days of hanging out, I realized that he was just like I was. We were both addicts. The difference between me and him was my family wouldn't enable me anymore. They kicked me out when I was 18 and told me to get sober. If I wanted to come back, I had to get sober. And you know what I did? I said, that's for the birds. I'm partying. And I went on about my business and stayed getting high for many, many years. I didn't get sober until I was 32, y'all. Okay. So the difference between me and my husband is my husband still had his family support. He still had his mom and dad that allowed him to live here. He still had a vehicle. Um, he didn't have to hit rock bottom like I did. Hey mom, you guys, that's my mom, Gina. Y'all say hi to Gina DeMayo. So my mom and dad didn't play. My mom and dad had been through a lot already with my sister, because when we were younger, my sister was struggling with mental illness. And we didn't really know what was going on until my parents were able to get her the help that she needed. And she was able to get a diagnosis. And that's when we found out my sister has bipolar disorder. Okay. Thanks, Julia. I really, really appreciate that. I really do. It makes me feel really good because I am a little insecure about the weight I've gained in recovery, because I was really, really skinny in my addiction. So my mom and dad had already kind of been down through there because they had my sister. My sister was really struggling. Like I said, she has bipolar disorder, and um, my sister started really acting out at a young age, and she was also using drugs. So my parents had two daughters that at the same time who were both dealing with addictions, and my sister on top of that was dealing with mental illness. And so my mom and dad had basically learned that, you know it has to be me who wants to change, and so they were not going to house me as long as I was going to be going out getting high. They've always been like real strong about putting their foot down like that, and so they wouldn't enable me. And the difference is my husband still had that support, and then that enabling from his family, you know. So from the outside looking in, it appeared like he had all his life together. It appeared like he had a job, a car, all this good stuff, right? But it was just because that was just the appearance. And I find that's what happens with a lot of people is their families are ashamed, and so they feel like they have to keep up these appearances. And so they give the addict and let the addict have a car, that they let the addict live with them. Because heaven forbid if anybody knows if that person's a drug addict. And that's what it was like for my husband. It was a secret, and don't tell anybody that he's really got a problem and that he's spending hours in the bathroom shooting up. You know what I mean? Hey, Raquel, what's up, girl? You can text me anytime. Anytime. Don't even trip, okay? Um, so when I met my husband, it was like, I hate to even sound like this. I was in my active addiction, but I was like, yes, jackpot. You know what I mean? He's fun, he's smart, and he's got money. You know what I mean? Like, I, that's how I thought back then, you guys. That's how I thought. I thought, hell yeah, I just hit the jackpot, Hey, Iggy, what's up, bud? So that's what it felt like to me. I felt like this is my chance. I'm going to change my life and I'm going to be able to have somebody that loves me and cares about me, and we're going to do all these things and succeed together. And then, we ended up both finding out that we were both addicted to drugs. And he was honest with me. He didn't keep it a secret. And of course, I couldn't keep my addiction a secret because he met me and I was high as hell. So the reason why I'm going into this whole tangent with you guys is because I want to explain to you that I would never make excuses for domestic violence. What me and my husband were doing to each other was absolutely wrong. I would beat the shit out of my husband. All right, you can ask my mama. I would chase my boyfriends out of the house. This has started since I was 16 years old. When I was 16 years old, I had a boyfriend. He pissed me off one day. You could ask my mama. All she seen was a cloud of dust going through the house because I was chasing this fool out of our house, beating him over the head with my brush, my hairbrush. Okay, so I've always had a really bad problem with controlling, um, being controlling of my partners and controlling my anger when it comes to that jealousy and anger. Okay, um, I've always felt like I needed to be the one in charge. And the way I would do those kind of things is by manipulating my husband or my boyfriend, whoever I was with at the time, manipulating that person, lying to that person, and then when they would get mad or catch me, then I would resort to physically attacking them because heaven forbid that I actually take responsibility for the shit that I was doing. Now, I have gotten myself into relationships where I got beat the fuck down. Okay. And there was one relationship I was in for about 7 years, 6.5 years. And it started out toxic as hell. Okay. It was toxic from the very start. But I knew automatically that I should have left right when we got into our first altercation, because this guy beat me. He would beat me. Okay. It didn't matter if I started the fight. It didn't matter if I popped off. It didn't matter if I wasn't touching him. He would beat me. Okay. And he put me in the hospital many times from beating me so bad. Hey, OG Scotty. So, okay. So, the reason why I'm going into this tangent is because I want you guys to understand something. My husband is a good man. He would never, ever lay a hand on me today. But when we were in our active addiction, we were not. We were not the people we are today. And I need you guys to understand that I would go behind his back and I would go out and get high and I wouldn't come back for days. I'm sorry. I wouldn't come back for days. And I would stay with other men. And I would be with guys that he knew liked me. And of course, y'all know me. I was just there for the dope. I didn't like them dudes, but I was there to manipulate and get my way. Hey Tim, congratulations on 10,000 subscribers, man. I'm so proud of you. I was there. I would leave my husband because I was manipulating other people to get drugs for free. Okay? And so then I would come back home, and of course, my husband would be brokenhearted. He would be upset. He would be hurt. He would think I cheated on him. And I wasn't out cheating on him. I was out hustling, getting free dope, you know? Um, so when we would get into physical altercations, 9 times out of 10, you guys, it would be because I started it. It would be because I attacked him. Okay? So that's why whew, that's why when I was reading this to you guys, like I almost stopped and didn't read all of it because I started cringing because I was like, "Oh my god." Like I totally wrote in this book like nothing was my fault. Like I was a complete angel. you know, and I wasn't. Um, I remember the instance that I read about to you guys yesterday. I had been out getting high with Tara, and Neil had went out and got high too behind my back. So when we came back together, I was like, "You've been getting high without me, motherfucker." Right? Um, you got more dope than me, and getting mad and just like attacking him and screaming and yelling at him. And so when he came back at me, although that no man should ever hit anybody, no woman should ever hit anybody. I just want the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is because that was what it was like in my active addiction. And I know if you were in active addiction and you were in a relationship, then you've probably been through the same thing. Okay? It's really difficult whenever you're high and your emotions are like charged and you're mad. Things happen like that, and you hurt people when you don't mean to, and then you look back on it and you're like, damn, why did I ever do that? So I just wanted to clear that up because I did get some comments about, oh my gosh, your husband, he should have never laid a hand on you. And like, you guys, like, I really want you guys to understand that he wasn't just beating me. Like, 9 times out of 10, it was because of something I did. No, he should have never even touched me. But I just want y'all to understand it was like just so toxic, and we were both attacking each other, and we were both yelling and fighting. Imagine two people they love each other so much, but they're both at the peak of their addiction, and they're just toxic. That was what was happening. And I'm not making excuses for it, but I want y'all to understand, because that person my husband was then is not the person he is today. He would never touch me like that. So I just wanted to clear that up. Now, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was feeling your feelings, and like letting those feelings come in, and how it can just be overwhelming sometimes. One of my girls that's in my Patreon, her name's Nicole. She had asked me to talk about this because when she first, got sober, all her emotions started coming back all at one time, and she couldn't stop crying, and she just felt overwhelmed. And sometimes I feel like that to this day. Okay. There's some days where I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing this for? Like, I get discouraged. I think that maybe what I'm doing I'm not helping anybody. And I think, should I just turn around and throw in the towel? And so when I first got sober, you guys think that I'm emotional now. The first year of my sobriety, I probably cried through the whole first year. It was so difficult for me because, one, I was new to recovery. Two, my son was in the care of the state of Arkansas. So I didn't even have my son, you know. For the first, I think I didn't get Nathaniel back I think it took me about 10 months to get him back into my custody. And so I was crying all the time. All I could think about was how I failed my son and how impossible it felt that I would never be able to get him back. I felt like, am I ever going to be able to do this? Or am I going to fail like every single other time? Because the only thing that I had to show for in my life was a bunch of failed attempts at getting sober. And so here I am, my son's well-being and life depends on whether or not I can get my shit together and get sober and become a better mom, become a mom in general. Because when I was using, I was not caring for my child. I was not being a mother. I was not present at all. So, one of the things that helped me the most my first year of sobriety, you guys, was a sponsor. And I know a lot of you guys don't have sponsors, or you're not involved in a 12-step program. But I want to explain something to you guys why it helped me so much. So, you can go to therapy, and you can talk to your doctor, to a therapist or a counselor, but you can have a sponsor and you can call that person anytime, right? And so for me, when I first got sober, having someone that I could connect with anytime I needed them, it was really, really important for me. And I had to start learning how to utilize that person. The first thing that came in my mind whenever I would be crying or I would be upset, because sometimes I would cry for no reason. I wouldn't even know why I was crying. I wouldn't even know what was going on. All I would know is that these things would happen and I would have these flashbacks from when I was getting high. For those of you guys that are new to my channel, I was raped in my addiction. I was beat in my addiction. I was just all kinds of bad situations I was in and things that happened that they scarred me for life, you know? And so when I got sober, I had a lot of time to reflect on all these things that happened, right? I also was working the 12 steps. So I was really actively looking at my behaviors and seeing the way a lot of the behaviors that I did and the choices I made put a lot of the things that happened to me into action. Like, I'm not saying that, what I mean by this is I was in my active addiction and I was around people who didn't give a fuck about me. Okay. I was around people who, if I was passed out, they'd go through my pockets and steal all my money. I was around people who would take my clothes off and have their way with me while I was out of it on Xanax and Oxy. And so I was making these choices in my life that were resulting in these things happening to me, right? Because I was hanging around people who could care less about whether I lived or died. Okay. And so when I got sober, all those things that I ever did, that ever happened to me, all those things that I was raised up to know better than to do, started flooding into the forefront of my mind. I started to remember things that I had blocked out for years. And I would just be overcome with grief, emotions, crying, mad at myself. That's another thing. I would be so mad at myself because how could I have let myself get to this point? You know, I'm somebody who knows better. I'm somebody who can do better. How could I have let myself get so far gone? You know, and that's because in our minds we think that we had some kind of control. I used to think it all the time, like I should have stopped. Why couldn't I have stopped? You have no control when you're in active addiction. It's out of your control, and the only thing you can do is reach out for help if you want to have any chance of changing. But in my mind, I had some kind of control, I thought I did. And so when these emotions would come into my mind and they would just be flooding me, right? I would just get so overwhelmed and so angry. So angry. Um and those it was hard to deal with that, because I didn't know how to deal with these feelings. Um that's why I utilized a sponsor, somebody that I could call and talk to who was not going to judge me, who was not going to like make me feel like, what I was worried about or upset about was didn't matter. Um, and that helped me a lot. It helped me so much, you guys. Um, but it's totally normal. Like if you guys are struggling and you're feeling like a bunch of feelings and you're just kind of feeling out of it, right? Um, and so those feelings come back so fast, especially when you first get sober. It's just like a wave of emotions, one on top of the other, 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 right? Hey, Lakiva, I don't know where you sent the message to, babe, but if you want to send it again, you can do that. You can send it on Instagram at Real Talk Recovery, because if you did, I probably didn't see it. I get a lot of messages throughout the day. Um, it's just overwhelming, you guys, to have. to be used to blocking out your feelings for so many years, right? And just using drugs and using drugs and using drugs and blocking out those feelings. And then you take those drugs away and it's like bam, right? All those feelings come rushing back like a tidal wave. And so that was my experience. But I want you guys to know that there was no way I was ever going to be able to handle that on my own or like go through it by myself. And so that's why like I want you guys to understand something. Like I'm constantly trying to share with you guys that it's so important to reach out for help and get support. Okay? For many, many years, I tried to get sober and change, on my own. And it was very difficult. I was unsuccessful. Okay. Sometimes we need someone to give us guidance and to light that fire underneath us. Because when you're so used to abusing drugs and alcohol, shit, the only fire you got underneath you is to light the crack pipe or cook the dope, like you don't have any motivation. You need somebody that's going to encourage you and push you to make those changes. And that's what I had to have. I had to have somebody that kind of stayed on me, and helped me stay accountable. Um, and who also called me out because one of the things that I really struggled with was just being honest with myself and knowing that hey, maybe I need somebody to help me with this. I always had this like thing in my mind that I can do it on my own. I'm going to be all right. And I think that, that comes from like just growing up and hearing your family, like my mom and dad, especially my dad would always tell me, you need to take care of that. You can handle this. You can just change. And for a lot of us, we're so stuck in that vicious cycle. It's hard to change on your own. So getting help and reaching out for like um, sober support, getting yourself a sponsor, going to meetings, finding a mentor, is so important, you guys. So important. Yeah, Ash, it helps. It's kind of like having a mentor, you guys. Like somebody who has been through what you've been through, right? And has come out on the other side of it that can kind of guide you in your journey. Let me see what y'all are saying. Oh, hey, Bobby, just keep trying, girl. There's got to be a good meeting somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Just keep trying. That's what I had to do. I had to keep trying, you guys, because sometimes you're going to run into like people that are not there for the right reasons, people that aren't there and they don't want to be sober, right? Um, they don't want to change their lives. Or they're still stuck in their vicious cycle of that addictive behavior, And so that's what we kind of have to realize. Like everyone is in different stages of sobriety, right? Different stages of their recovery. And so like here on my channel, there's 17 of us right now in the chat. Every one of us is not at the same spot, okay? Some people are in different, how do I say this? I don't want to say like they're more sober, but you know what I'm saying? Like they've been they just have more experience in their recovery than they do in active addiction. Okay? And so or they have worked really hard to heal and grow and make those changes. And some people are just getting started, some people are right in the middle, and so everybody's at different stages. And so when you are looking for sober support, I always look for somebody for me who is past me in their stage. Is a little bit farther along than I am because I want them to learn me, teach me what they've done to get that far. You know, sometimes you need to find the meeting with just the right people for you. Sometimes it's just finding the right people. Absolutely. I do too, Ash. More stable. Yeah, exactly. So, for instance, like, um, okay. So I'm working with a young lady right now, and she has been sober less than I have. But here's the thing: And she's also at a different stage in her recovery than I am. So what she does is she reaches out to me when things come up in her life. And like, okay, for instance, um, she still has like friends that are, kind of going back and forth and struggling with their recovery, right? And so me, as being somebody who's helping her with her recovery, I have to keep encouraging her and sharing with her how being having those people around her can be detrimental to her recovery, and how important it is for us we need to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people who are wanting to better their lives. Okay, when you're hanging out with a bunch of people that are still in their active addiction, and you think that you're going to be able to help them or save them, you guys, I'm telling you 100 times over, you are going to relapse. If you keep hanging out with people that are getting high, they're going to drag you into their life, you know? Oh, good job. That's awesome. Good job on the getting yourself down, Lakiva. That's awesome, girl. Hey, Kathleen, what's up? Welcome. Just the reason why I want you guys to I share these things with you guys is not because I'm like, hey, I'm just a sober guru. I'm just sharing with you guys like what my experience was from whenever I was first getting into my recovery. And I've shared this story with you guys a dozen times probably. I used to have this girl that I was really good friends with, and she was still getting high, and she would come over to my house to see me. And I wanted to help her so bad, you guys. I remember one time I got her into treatment here in Little Rock, and I set it up for her. She had her insurance, everything was going to work out. And she never went, she never showed up. And I was so upset. And then I realized, Nicole, you can't want recovery for her more than she wants it for herself, you know? Um, because that's what would happen. I would get so invested in trying to help her or help anybody. This happens to me quite often sometimes, and I'll have to catch myself because I find myself wanting something for someone more than they want it for themselves, you know? So I just don't want you guys to get caught up like I did trying to save your friends because while you're trying to save them, they're not thinking in the same mindset you are, and they're going to grab a hold to you and they're going to pull you down with them. It's like quicksand, man. And I just don't want to see any of you guys, you know lose your sobriety or anything, bad, relapse and die of an overdose or anything like that because you were trying to help somebody else. And also I think it's really important for us, you guys, to realize that sometimes when we're keeping those old friends away from when we're keeping those old friends who are still getting high around us, do we have a reservation? Are we thinking that we can stay around these people because maybe one day that we will be able to get high with them again? You know, a relationship centered around drugs is not a healthy relationship. It's a what can you do for me beneficiary relationship. I've legit cut everyone off that I used with or still actively using. Good job, Kathleen. Absolutely amazing job. 2 months after I left my ex, he had a motorcycle wreck and is now paralyzed from the neck down. I feel like if I would have just tried to help him, he wouldn't be in the condition he is now. Deidre, don't take that guilt on because honestly, there's nothing that you could have done. I mean, you could encourage him, but even that, girl, what if you had been on the back of that motorcycle with him? You know, um, early recovery can be pretty lonely, especially if you're not involved in any kind of recovery program or any kind of like group setting. It can be pretty lonely, you guys, because you're getting rid of all those toxic people. You're changing because, baby, listen, I used to be toxic as hell, y'all. Let me tell y'all something. Okay? Let me tell y'all something. Today, I just got off the phone with the girl who called CPS on me, okay? Of course, she still won't admit that she did it, but we're not even going to talk about that. Um, she calls me because she checks in. She's sober now. I'm proud of her, right? I'm proud of her for getting sober. I've forgiven her. I've gotten to a point in my sobriety where I no longer have a resentment towards her. If anything, I feel I feel bad for her. Okay? I feel bad for her. My heart hurts for her because I know that all her life, all she's known is tricking, drugs, having a bad childhood, having bad parents that didn't take care of her properly, all these things, right? So she called me today to kind of give me an update on what's going on in her life and what she's achieving. And, I'm really proud of her. But even like I told her, I said, I'm really just concerned because you're telling me all these amazing things that are happening for you, but you're not doing anything to stay sober. You're just white knuckling it. You just stopped and that's it. And so, I'm when I come on here and I talk about getting into some kind of support group or recovery program, it's not because I want to make you or choose you guys' recovery for you. It's because I want you to be successful in your recovery. I want you to stay sober and not relapse. And part of that is getting support, even if it's just like in a support group like we have here. Even if it's just like joining the Patreon and hanging out with all the girls and talking about your recovery in there. Like that's really important for your sobriety because you need to have good healthy people that are going to help you stay accountable and help you keep choosing that recovery life because it's easy to fall back. Hey Byron, it's easy to fall back and think about, oh wow, like I wish I could go out and use today, or I'm having a hard time, so and so. Here's the thing that I always have problems with. I always have problems with like either getting angry or someone hurting me and really being hurt, right? Um, and so when you have a group of people to support you, hey Melissa, thank you. It's like so much easier to it's just easier, you guys, because you have accountability. And so I don't ever want you guys to feel like I am pushing a certain program on you because I'm extremely open minded. Okay. I am very, very open minded. Okay. I believe in AA. I believe in NA. I believe in Celebrate Recovery. I believe in MARA. I believe in Refuge Recovery, Smart Recovery. I love, hey, LT, what's up, man? I believe in all those different programs. You know why? Because they're all programs that are for supporting you in your recovery. So choose one. It doesn't make a difference to me, but you need to take action and actually start doing something for your sobriety, okay? A lot of people when they get sober, they want to move on from it and they automatically want to just start, acting as if they never had a problem, they were never a drug addict. Um and it's a dangerous slippery slope when you are trying to forget or acting as if you've never had a problem, okay? Because you can't fix a problem by ignoring it or acting if it's not there. You know what I mean? You can't, you need to address it and you need to work on it and stay diligent in working on it because blocking it out is not going to get you anywhere and dangerous. And I know I've come into contact with quite a few people who, when they get to a certain stage of their sobriety, they feel like, well, I'm done. This is it. I'm sober. I've got the cure and I'm just going to move on from this and I'm never going to worry about my addiction again. And that's when I see a lot of people fall back because they want to forget, and I know, listen, I understand. Hey, Mike. Hey, Merk. I understand that. Hey, Sabbatha. I understand that it can get a little overwhelming and maybe depressing sometimes, but you can't look at it like that. I'm not embarrassed of the fact that I was in active addiction for many years. Um, I'm so proud of myself for overcoming that. Um, I feel stronger because of that. And I also think that it's really helpful whenever you can share your experience to help others. Um, and that's what I try to do, and it really helps me. It gives me purpose. It makes me happy to do it. I enjoy helping other people. I enjoy encouraging people in their recovery. I enjoy um, trying to teach and share tips and tricks of how to stay sober and what to do when you're struggling. Like, I love doing that, you know? And so I don't know, I'll probably do this for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have absolutely, I love it. I love helping people. And there's always going to be new people who are struggling with addiction, who need support. So I don't ever see any reason to not help people, you know? Um, so yeah. I just think it's so easy, you guys, because our minds, it's a trick, okay? The disease of addiction is very cunning, okay? And the disease will tell you, right? The disease will tell you, girl, you got this all under control. Look how many years you've got. You've been sober for 5 years. You don't need to go to those meetings anymore. Fuck real talk recovery. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm past that stage in my life. I'm sober. I've been sober for 5 years. Okay? I'm telling you guys, it's like a snake. It's sneaky. It comes back into your brain. Okay? I don't need the support. I can do this on my own. I don't need to tell anybody. I don't need to talk about it. I can move past this stage in my life, right? Which, hey, it's great to be progressing and moving forward. But to act like something is there that's not there, the disease of addiction, you hear that word? Disease, okay? It's something that you're going to constantly have to work on and constantly stay on top of. Because just like our mental health, it is part of our mental health dealing with the addiction is, you know? What's up, Mike? Um, I just don't want you guys to ever think that I don't mean that you have to come on YouTube every day and talk about addiction and share your life with everybody. You don't have to do what I do, okay? But I don't want you to get complacent and think that you can just stop and that everything's going to be okay. I want you to always be working towards bettering your life, okay? And it could be in anything. It could be you start going for walks and doing more of your meditation. It could be that, you're speaking now at meetings and like sharing in the meeting. And maybe you didn't do that before. Like there's all kinds of different ways to work on your recovery and stay consistent and not fall back into that like complacency. I don't need to do anything. I'm going to be all right kind of deal. You know, I just know for me, in my personal experience, every time that I've stopped and I've let up on what I was doing to stay sober, it was bad news. It was bad news. And it caused me a lot more pain. And I could have avoided it if I would have just stayed consistent and followed through, you know? Um, Consistency is very, very important when you're trying to stay sober from drugs and alcohol. All right. Consistency, stability, the people you hang around, the places you go, all these things are going to affect whether or not you stay sober or not. Hey, from New Zealand. I wonder what happened if coronavirus somehow. So, Michael, we talked about that. They're actually making um they're doing protocols at different clinics all over the United States. I just got an update today from somebody in Chicago. His name's Dave. And he actually told me that what they're doing is they're letting all their patients know that if they come into the clinic and they're sick, not to come in the door, to call them and they will come out to the car and give them their methadone or Suboxone on 6 milligrams of Subutex, but keep picking up and using occasionally. Gotta stop this pattern of behavior. Mike, so here's the thing. Um, Do you want to stop getting high? Do you want to stop getting high? Who and what are you doing? Okay. Are you still hanging out with people? It's okay, Michael. Are you still hanging out with people who are using? Are you, are you around people? Do you work at a job where people are getting high? Um, yeah, Lakiva, I'm telling you, girl, been there. I totally can relate. Totally relate. Hey, Mad Feathers. Um, I know a lot of people that are on maintenance medication and they struggle staying sober. Okay. And honestly, you guys, I haven't struggled staying sober at all because I just feel like I got to a place where I just didn't want to get fucking I don't want to lose my life anymore. I don't I'm not unhappy. When I was in my active addiction, I was unhappy. I was struggling. I was in pain. I was hurting inside. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to I want to have a successful good life. And I also love my son so much. I don't want to put him in harm's way. And that's really what helps me so much is my son. He helps me stay sober, you guys. He helps me to stay on the right track because every time I look at him, I know like I got to keep on doing this. I got to stay on the right path. So, anyway, I'm going to get off here. Do you think it's not good to have quit opiates but to keep something? Do you think it's not good to have quit opiates but to keep something? Keep something like what do you mean, Michael? To quit doing heroin and then keep a stash of heroin? No, I don't think that's a good idea. um yes, I want to stop. Don't hang with any other users, but there's so many dealers in my town. Oh, if you listen to me, if you have a good job, you are not going to have that job if you keep on getting high, man. I'm telling you, do not here's the thing. Just stop. Just reach out for help, get into some meetings, go and reach out for help. You're going to need support, okay? That's the main thing I can tell you is that you need support. You have to go find it, okay? It's not going to come up to you, all right? The support's not going to come find you. You have to go find it, okay? You have to seek out help. So if you're someone who is struggling still and you're on a medication assisted treatment, whoever's prescribing you that medication, you need to let them know that you're struggling. You need to get into therapy. You need to find some meetings and you've got to get that support because it's not going to change for you overnight. Okay? You've got to seek help. A lot of people aren't willing to go find help. Um and that's the thing. It's overwhelming sometimes, you guys, okay? I know that. But just try your hardest. Don't give up, you know? Maybe it's time, Mike, maybe you need to go into treatment. Maybe you need 30 days away from all that lifestyle so that way you can get your life back on track. You know what I'm saying? Um I know how hard it is though. Like I don't want you to feel like I'm not trying to make you feel bad or anything. I just want you to understand that it's really dangerous and you could die. And sometimes, we just got to really really buckle down and if you haven't been able to be successful staying sober and you're on maintenance medication, I honestly think that if I was you, I would call every treatment center and I would try to get in somewhere where I could get some help. Or I would get into find an addiction specialist or a recovery coach and have somebody help you go to a meeting and get a sponsor and actually start utilizing that sponsor, um, and actually listening to what they say and taking suggestions. Because a lot of the times, we're willing to do this part, but we're not willing to do that part. You know what I mean? Um, but I love you guys. I'm always here if you need anything. If you want to text me, you can text me anytime on that Real Talk Recovery phone line that's on the screen. And I'm going to get off here and try to go get this damn nail out of my tire and get the damn tire changed. But I just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about just kind of dealing with your feelings and, you know, feeling the feelings and moving through it because you can do it, okay? Hold on. I saw. They tell court that I'm suitable for that I'm not suitable. Huh. That's crazy. I have been listening to you for a while. I don't comment often. I wanted to let you know that your pure, unadulterated honesty is so refreshing. Your truth breaks through and brings light to people. Thanks. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Really, really appreciate it. It means so much to me that you say that. I really, really appreciate it. You have no idea. Um, I was just telling the truth about some stuff that happened in my addiction with me and my husband because I read my diary yesterday and I uploaded that video. Y'all can watch it. It's on my channel. And you know, I'm ashamed that that stuff happened. I'm ashamed that me and my husband were hurting each other, you know? But I know it happens to so many other people, and so that's why I shared it because I've been in situations where I've seen other women who are in relationships with people who are also on drugs, and I've seen other people beating each other's asses, you know? And so I just want you guys to know like that was 5 years ago, and me and my husband have been sober and we've changed our lives and we're doing the right thing. And so I just I hope that it helps somebody. That's why I share it. You know, it's hard to share those things. Okay? It's hard to share those things because people do judge me. Okay? People judge me every single day. People comment and say it's like, did you listen to the video? Did you hear anything I said? You know? Um, but I'm not that person anymore. I am a changed woman and I love my husband so much and I think so highly of him. And I just don't ever want you guys to feel like I'm in a bad situation because I am so fortunate. You know, we have both changed so much. 100% turnaround. So, thank you for the compliment, Trace. I really, really appreciate you. I wish you would comment more because I really do love getting to know you guys. And so, if you're someone who kind of hides in the shadows and doesn't comment, just know that I really, really appreciate you and I want to get to know you. And you don't have to be ashamed or embarrassed or hide. And if you are afraid to comment, you can always text me. I will always answer you back on the Real Talk Recovery phone line. All right, you guys, I love y'all. I'm going to get off here. Go watch the video that I uploaded before this about me reading my diary, and then you'll know what I was talking about in today's video. Okay? All right, you guys, see y'all tomorrow night, Friday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have Mara, Medication Assisted Recovery Anonymous meeting, and tomorrow night, man, what are we going to talk about tomorrow night? Y'all give me some ideas, and we'll talk about whatever y'all want to talk about tomorrow night. All right? All right, love y'all. Have a great day and be good. Stay sober.